Have you ever wondered how the greatest mathematicians seem to come up with their groundbreaking formulas, or even how we produce the simplest formulas? I mean, think about it. I can barely even remember what I ate 2 days ago, let alone produce a mathematical formula that seems to solve some great mystery. But, okay, I promise this won't be too mathy, but let's look at this particular equation. Now, this equation is the formula that only has 5 letters, only 5 variables, yet it describes a gravitational force between two bodies, usually used to determine the force of attraction between two planets. So, for example, the Sun and the Earth. Now, gravity, the F is the magnitude of force between the two objects, G is a gravitational constant, and M1 is the mass of the first object, and M2 is the mass of the second object. Then R represents the distance between the two objects. Now with these basic variables, simple measurements of mass, distance, and a constant that has already been defined, you can determine how closely attracted these two objects are. How cool is that? But now here's the question. Did we just observe and describe a pattern between these two objects that was ingrained into the very foundation of this phenomenon, or did we create an equation to fit our perception of this phenomenon? So in other words, did we discover this equation, or did we create this equation? Now, this does not seem very important at first, but when we dive into the implications of this question, it becomes much more intriguing. If we discover this equation, it implies that math is a fundamental part of the universe. We are uncovering the language of this mystery, just as archaeologists discovered fossils to help explain that the Earth of the past. We are discovering bits and pieces of this universe. Just like genes and DNA, math makes up the genes of the DNA of the universe. Concepts that we have already defined, like gravity, and the equations that we use to quantify these concepts, make up the language. The equations are the words, and when combined they form sentences. And these concepts are the rules of grammar, like how you would apply the words to make a sentence that makes sense. For example, the fact that gravitational force should increase when objects become bigger and closer together is the rule, but when we put the numbers into the equation, you'll see that it makes sense. Every new discovery that we make adds up onto this language. Eventually we have discovered every part and every grammar rule of this language, and then perhaps we can start communicating. Perhaps we can get proficient enough to start manipulating it, just as we can manipulate our own language. Now, on the other hand, if this equation was created, it implies that we created math. We are writing our own interpretations of this universe. This means that math is a byproduct of our imagination and creativity, to be able to create the most complex equations, like this one. Now, I know it's hard to read, but that's because it's the longest equation I could find. But even the simplest equations are feats of our human brain power. This raises the ideas that we humans have not lived to our true potentials, as we have such capable imaginations. More questions begin to surface with this, such as how come math seems to work so universally if we created it, and if we are connected to the universe on such a subconscious level in a way that we can create these equations to fit so perfectly. Now, this opens up a door to avenues that we as a human race could take. When we decide to start taking advantage of this immense brain power that we have, we can create great things and perhaps spark a new information and technological revolution. Now, there's no definite answer to this question. You can choose to believe what you want. Nevertheless, whichever you choose to believe gives hope for a brighter future where we humans either uncover the mystery of the universe or utilize our full capabilities. Can you imagine what we could do with these newfound discoveries? Could our craziest fantasies, such as flying cars and strange architecture in this futuristic city, come true? Now, I don't believe the answer to this question, how equations are created, will solve our problems or even miraculously pull us to the future. However, it will pull us toward a future of progress and innovation that could possibly one day lead to this city. Either way you choose to interpret it, it will unlock a new door for humans to explore.